Go! What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Quotes and Chokes podcast, episode number 17. I'm Nick Angeloni.
And I'm Arut Pogosian, and our guest today is Jose Shorty Torres, UFC Flyweight contender, 7-time World MMA champion, Titan FC 125, 135 champion, 2-time UMMAF, IMMAF champion, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more.
Check the Instagram bio, get the rest of the details.
We're happy to have you, Shorty. Welcome to the podcast.
Well, it's a pleasure to be on. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, man. So what's new with you, man? What's been going on?
Besides fighting life, man, I don't have anything planned. You know, I'm just doing my thing. I'm traveling the world. I just got back from Brazil, coaching Julian Robertson for UFC Sao Paulo.
Oh,
you
nice.
know, went to St. Louis, coached some of my fighters. Now I'm here in Denver, just training, staying ready, and just trying to stay in shape. It's one of those things that my last loss, given for a lot of people who don't know me, I was on a 33-fight winning streak. The last time I lost was in 2010.
33 fight? Wow.
Yeah, so the last time I lost was in 2010. So it's not a culture shock that I lost because it's part of the sport. It just so happened in MMA I ended up going for a big winning streak.
Yeah.
It's the fact of how I lost, and it's nice to get my feet back in the ground and really try to figure out why I lost and what's next for me.
And you're one of those guys that epitomizes somebody who grows from his losses. Like, there's people that there's not an ounce of doubt in my mind that makes me think, oh, that loss is going to affect you in some way. Like, it's pretty clear that this loss is is kind of a catalyst in making you even better, because you got this learning mindset about you. Like, after practice, before practice, you're always breaking things down of how you can improve.
When you say how you lost, what do you mean by that?
You know, for me, it's not the skill. You know, because I believe everyone in the UFC can beat everyone. We're all to that point.
Yeah.
But it's the fact of, you know, I wasn't mentally there for that fight. Given for whatever reason, I have all my plenty of excuses, but no matter, at the end of the day, I still lost. So we have to look at what I did in the fight wrong and what mentally, leading up to the fight, led me to lose.
Okay.
You know, so for me, it's how do I have to improve myself that much more mentally, besides the training itself, which I'm working with Trevor Whitman, Dwayne Ludwig, and all the guys here with Team Elevation. It's more of what I have to prepare for mentally to make myself that much better. Again, the first time I lost in MMA, I got so nervous, I was full of anxiety and all these things happening, but after I lost, I was like, cool, I can do whatever I want, let's see how this goes. And I don't know, I go on a 33-fight winning streak because I had a positive mindset. I went in there going, why not? I already lost before, I already know how it feels. Now this is kind of like a refresher of my very first loss again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a big thing with, like, kind of, what's the phrase that
Growth mindset?
No, it's like extreme, basically like extreme acceptance.
I was like, I wish I was growing.
Those days are past. No, like extreme acceptance. You know what I mean? Like, where it's just like, whatever happens, like it's not about winning or losing. I'm just gonna go out here and like kind of enjoy it and see where it takes me. And obviously, you want to win, right? But
it's the fact of how many times do you try to do something and it just doesn't work out as planned. But when you don't try, somehow it happens with ease.
It goes great, yeah.
Like that's usually how it's been. At least in my 33 straight fights. Given, yeah, there were some fights obviously I wanted to win more than others, and I trained harder for it because of it. But it was the fact of I was just doing my thing. Mm-hmm. Now I thought too much of it, and I got too much into my mind, and I just wasn't there because of it.
So overthinking is what led you feel like
overthinking is sometimes even thinking too little. You know, not even for me in that fight, it wasn't overthinking. It was just being careless and not caring about it whatsoever. Because again, there were so many reasons behind it. But if you look at it from the outside point of view, 33-fight winning streak, you kind of think you're almost invincible. Mm-hmm. You know, you're like, oh, I can beat anybody. I've taken multiple shots.
Streak, you think you're invincible.
Yeah.
So multiply that by what's that?
Listen, I'm only on a 4-fight win streak, and sometimes I feel like I get a little bit overconfident. So.
Well, you know, it's for me. I've been through a lot just as a professional.
Yeah.
In one fight, when I bumped up to fight for the 35-pound championship, my second belt, I ended up breaking my hand and tearing my MCL in the first round, not even knowing it. Well, at least my MCL, I knew my hand was broken, but I still kept on going for 5 rounds, and I dominated the rest of the fight.
Yeah.
After the fight, I was like, oh, you know, obviously I'm in pain, but then you're just like, wait, I can fight with a broken hand, I can fight with a torn MCL, and still win these fights. Like, the mindset you have after you get cocky, oh, I still have knockout power even with that. Oh, this is awesome. Mm-hmm. So, you know, again, this fight doesn't bring my feet down to the ground. It actually kind of digs me in the dirt a little bit. Now I'm trying to rise on top and see where it goes from there.
So you feel like you were a little bit overconfident going into that fight?
I definitely was a little overconfident. It was a mixture of both. You know, the biggest thing for me is I do have a lot of PTSD with weight cutting, and I cut. Yeah, I really do. Dude, I have extreme PTSD from weight cutting. It's bad.
You get the butterflies in your stomach when you think about weight cutting?
Dude, it scares the hell out of me. You know, so like. For me, I fought Jared Brooks in a 9-day notice. That's how I got my UFC debut.
Yep.
They told me if I didn't make weight in 9 days, I was cut. Which that's just they were trying to keep it fair, sure, which is not. But
that's not fair.
It was 26 pounds in 9 days, and I'm a flyweight, so that's pretty much around quarter of my weight.
Yeah.
I made the weight, but I didn't perform to the best of my ability. So naturally, I was prideful. One of the reasons why I wanted to fight again so quick was I just want to go. Then I found the fight much earlier than what I wanted, and I was like, screw it. I know I can beat this guy. Let's do it. And it was 28 pounds in 20 days, and I still made the weight, but leading up to it, I mean...
Was this the last fight? Or
with the last fight.
Oh.
So in 2 months, in 155. So in 2 months, I cut around 55 pounds, and I'm only, flyweight. So that's a little more than quarter of my weight. It's like 30-40% of my weight.
What weight do you... What weight do you fight at?
So I fight at 125,
no,
and I walk
mean like,
around at 155.
Like what do you weigh when you go in the fight?
Like 145. I'm about 20-pound difference.
Damn.
Okay.
So I gain about 20 pounds.
That's a lot for a
24, 36 hour notice. Yeah, I'm fat. Even my weight manager specialist likes to call me Jose Chubby Torres when we have fun with it. But it's the fact of... It's not that I try to bulk up because, like boxers, I try to get this weight and they check their weight before and it just seems like a big spectacle. But for me, that's what my body usually is at.
And to put it in perspective, on average, I fight at 155 and fight them about 170.
Yeah.
So about 15-pound difference.
Same.
And I'm a much larger man. Mm-hmm. So I'm fighting at 155, there's only 15-pound difference. You're fighting at 125 and there's a 20-pound difference.
Mm-hmm.
You know what they do in California now? They weigh you before the fight.
Mm-hmm.
They do like a second weigh-in, and you're only allowed to gain 10% back. And if you gain more than 10% back on that second weigh-in, it's like right before your fight. It's like when they do like the rules. You still fight, but they force you up for your next fight.
They red flagged me because my last fight was in LA.
Oh, okay.
And leading up to the fight, I was still 20 pounds over. Again, it was a last minute fight. So when they called me, they go, "Hey, you're at 150, you're fighting 125, you're way above the 10%, we're not going to allow you to cut it." And we explained the last fight, and I go, dude, I've cut 26 pounds in 9 days, I know I can make it, this is going to be a lot more healthy, it's still not going to be fun, but I could do it. Given at this point, I wish California would have just kept the red flag and just said, no, you can't fight, because it would have taught me a lot, but it's the fact of, I was able to convince them and still compete. But the weight cut affected me so much mentally. I mean, you guys cut weight before where you get hangry, the whole Snickers commercial type thing. And I 100% just wasn't myself. Leading up to the week, it didn't matter who I would have fought that day. It could have been some random Joe Schmo, or it could have been the champion, Demetrius Johnson at the time. I more than likely still would have lost.
So you think it was just because you weren't in your right state of mind because you... Like lack of food, lack of calories, lack of water.
That's part of it.
It's not. It's definitely when I say weight cut, I don't say lack of food, lack of water, because that's part of any single training camp. It's the fact that it affected me so much that I just wasn't mentally thinking about the fight. Okay. Even with my first UFC debut, it was the fact of I made the weight. I was like, yeah, we made the weight. I'm not getting cut. Oh yeah, I gotta fight. Oh damn, man. And then I get dropped by a wrestler.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that's like. These things in the fights, mainly my last two, since they've been UFC and last minute notice, 29 days to prepare for two high-level fighters, UFC fighters, that's nowhere near enough time to do that. Like, I'm not Donald Cerrone. Donald Cerrone can do that, but he's already a veteran. He's had, 12, 13 fights in 1 year, which is awesome, but he's already had multiple years in the UFC to prepare for the spotlight, prepare for the moment, to prepare for whatever every single opponent.
Weight, right?
So it's a fact of it's a mindset thing, and that's why I have my own YouTube series now, Inside Team Shorty, where you really have to think about it. It's like there's so many things about MMA. You just there can be all these technique videos, which is awesome, but mentally, I mean, how many times you know how to do a Darce, but sometimes you're just not confident to do it, so you don't even try to do it, but it's been there the whole time.
So it's kind of like the mental side of it?
Yeah, it's 100% the mental side. I mean, how many times have you gone into work and everything's going great, but there's just that one day at work, just for some reason, you're doing the same exact thing every single day, but for some reason, it's just not your day.
Yeah.
For me, my last fight was just not my day in the office. So it's 100% mental.
What do you do for your mental game?
You know, a lot of people hire sports psychologists. You know, they vent, they talk to their friends. For me, I have my weight management specialist, which is also kind of like my sports psychologist. Him and I, you know, given
weight management specialist.
he doesn't. We don't. He's not a nutritionist, which he likes to definitely point out. But it's the fact of, again, sometimes you just need to talk to someone and hear another voice. Mainly, like for me, I travel the world when it comes to training. You know, I've talked to Dotson, I've talked to TJ Dillashaw, I've talked to Khabib, and all these great guys where it's like everyone has a different mindset, or sometimes I'm struggling with something, so I ask them. They more than likely have been through it, they're veterans, and they'll give me their insight. And that's what I'm trying to do with my YouTube series now, is give amateur fighters, mainly amateur fighters, my insight as well.
Yeah, one of the best things for your mental game is really just having experience, right? Like every time you fight, your mental game gets a little better. The trick is gaining a solid mental game before you're done with your career, before your body's worn out, and you know what I mean, trying to get it kind of early enough, which is where you go to like more experienced fighters and getting those tips, right? Or now like younger people can go to your YouTube channel, things like that, and kind of learn those lessons like without having to, because you learn your lessons through failures, right? Even if it's not like losing the fight, but little short failures within the fight and things like that. Or like things like, okay, I did that wrong, but maybe you got away with it, but it's like I did do that wrong, and you learn, you know? So people can go to more experienced fighters like you. You're
taking a shortcut. When you talk to an experienced fighter, they've already been there, done that. Like,
right, yeah.
If you could take what they're saying, like, you save yourself a lot of time.
Yeah, without going through like trial and error.
Yeah.
The people learn in two different ways, at least from what I've seen. They learn through mentorship, the big brother thing where it's like, hey man, you shouldn't do this. Okay, you're right, I shouldn't do this. Or through experience. You know, you touch the stove, oh man, the stove's hot, maybe I shouldn't touch it again. Right. Sadly, I'm the guy that touches the stove and finally gets burnt. Again, my last fight I got burnt. But with my YouTube series, I'm trying to really implement, and I see other YouTube series as well, just like this as well. It's like, dude, there's a mental side to it. You won't know until somebody tells you, and even when you find out, it like, again, you get burnt, it's like, damn, I guess they were right this whole time.
Yeah.
You know? So it's 100% a mindset thing. I mean, how many times have you seen fighters, phenomenal fighters in the gym, even beating world, UFC champions, but then they go into their spot like, King of the Cage, LFA, some regional promotion, Titan FC, stuff like that, and they freeze.
Not the same person.
And I like to call them gym warriors.
It's
like they can dominate everyone in the gym, but why can't they do the same thing in the cage? It's like, oh, it's the moment, it's the lights.
They're like the shadow themselves.
It's not that they don't have the talent. We see they have the talent. It's the mental side to it. They freak out. They think too much.
That's the trick. That's really the key, right? Like, I know a good number of people that are at the very least at the skill level to be in the UFC and probably even doing well, right? But they're not there. Maybe they just haven't got there yet, but like just not the same people in the fight, Like that's probably the hardest part about fighting is because you can learn the techniques. I would say the hardest part is,
can you pull it off from the lights?
Doing it when it counts, right? Yeah, exactly.
There's so many things: timing, the position, all that stuff. So being able to figure out, again, I can teach you a Dars, and you can do it in practice all the time. But would you actually have the confidence to do it in the cage?
Yeah.
So inside Team Shorty focuses on the mental game of it.
Yeah, it's more the mental thing. It's more of a, for me, I've always wanted to be a big brother. I'm the younger brother, and I've always wanted to be that type of mentor to go, guys, you should, not saying this is going to work for you, but try to follow this path and eventually veer off into your own style and veer off into your own direction. But this is a nice little blueprint to what could happen soon.
Last week after sparring, not this Friday, the Friday before after sparring, me and you were talking, you were giving me some pointers afterwards, and you said a real good thing. You said, I write down, after each sparring session, I write down 3 things, no more than that, because after that, it becomes too much, you can't focus on it. So 3 things that I need to, 3 takeaways from that sparring session.
Yeah.
Go ahead, keep going.
Okay. And throughout the week, I work on them, and then I try to implement those 3 things on my next sparring session, and then I analyze. If I had implemented it successfully, it's done. Like I can move on to 3 new things. If if I didn't, then I work on them another week. And like I started doing that, and the 3 things we talked about from my sparring session, I made the adjustments, and boom, the growth was exponential. Versus like just growing slowly, kind of like passively. This is way more active.
No, it's the fact of now you're starting to put out the goals. A lot of people come to practice and go, cool, I'm doing the practice, and eventually becomes a routine where you're just doing the same thing over and over and over again, and you really lost track of that goal. Like, yeah, you're obviously trying to get better and learn,
track of the goal.
But it's the fact of, okay, you come into practice and you go, man, I'm getting hit a lot in the face. Okay, cool. Let's not get hit in the face today in practice. It's like, okay, yeah, that might happen, but what's gonna help you? What you gotta simplify it even more. It's like, why are you getting hit in the face a lot?
Yeah.
Are you moving back too much? Are you moving to the side? Are you moving your head? Are you getting kicked? Are you getting punched? Or whatever the case may be. So you really have to break it down and then write those things down. Hey, did you check it off? Cool, it's off. Add something else to the list so you can keep on growing up that ladder instead of just going, cool, that's done. Now you got those 2 things left, and once those 2 things are done, what's there to reach for?
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break real fast, and then we'll come right back. Nice. All right, we're back. So let's get into, we were talking a little bit yesterday at the gym about kind of dealing with discouragement and things like that. Let's talk a little bit about that.
It's crazy because I've seen fighters here at this gym and every other gym, hell even with myself, of you might be losing one day in practice or just you get dropped. I've been dropped multiple times in practice through body shots. TJ's dropped me multiple times through body shots, which I still hate today. But it's the fact of you have to get beat up in practice to learn. If you're the alpha male, if you're the best one, then what are you really getting out of it? Compared to you're the guy at the bottom, obviously working your way up, you're the underdog trying to come up and prove a point. But if you're the favorite and you're always going to be the favorite, what's it really matter?
You can't always be the hammer. Sometimes you gotta be the nail.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta be the nail. So some guys they get beat up in practice and they get discouraged. For example, there's been 3 ways that I've seen. One is, oh man, I got beat up today. I don't want to do it anymore. Somebody gets dropped. I'm hurt. Sorry. Oh, it hurts. I'm gonna go home. And they just that's their day. That's their bad day at work, and they give up. Then there's guys that are losing, but they want to win, but they can't figure out how. So they kind of cheat. They kind of work out of nowhere this master plan way. And they do master plan ways to get by and win the match, so they can feel better about themselves, only themselves. And then there's guys that like yourselves is. You get beat up in practice, but okay, cool. Like you're saying, write it down. All right, cool. These are the notes for the next sparring match. This is the next sparring session. All right, cool. I'm gonna get better.
Yeah.
If I keep on losing, cool. At least I know there's always something I need to work on, which automatically there always is something.
Yeah.
Again, it comes down to that growth mindset versus fixed mindset.
And
some people think, okay, I'm as good as my practice that defines me. Some people think this is how good I am right now, but if I fix my mistakes, I will be better.
Yeah,
it really comes down to that.
Dwayne always says we're here to
grow.
We're here to get better, not see who's better.
Yeah,
there's only a couple times a year that we got to go see who's better.
And that's really what it is. Like, yeah, you want to be the best guy in practice, but once you get there, it's like, oh man, I need to find some guys who are gonna beat me up.
Yeah, I tell you, like I've been in situations like brief periods of time, like throughout my training, where I was one of the best guys in the room, and it was not good. It's boring for one, and you'll almost get worse because you can get away with poor habits, and even still poor habits.
All that pressure of like maintaining your position, like you're the best guy. You can't allow yourself to make any mistakes, because like if you go with some amateur guy and you lose a round to him, like it's embarrassing to you because you're already in your head you're like the top dog. You're not allowed to. But if you're going with guys that have accomplished more than you, and like you can try new stuff, and you're more forgiving of your own mistakes.
It's the mindset. It's how you take things in life. How do you take a punch to the face? You can give up. You can try to cheat to give it back, or you can figure out a way to see where it goes next.
He cheats.
He's the cheater.
You ain't cheating. You're not trying. Remember,
this guy will shamelessly just put your So I've got a bunch of pairs of King of the Cage gloves for my fights, and they're solid gloves, and one of them is ripped through the fingers. And
Don't blame it on me.
It was pretty new when it ripped, and I remember getting out. I'm like, oh, this ripped, and I'm like, how did this happen? And I'm like, because this fool is always digging his claws inside my gloves.
Hey, I think
he
did
your hand out though.
I think he did it once. I was like, is that legal? Screw it. I'm still gonna take him down.
Is that legal? And I asked, can the ref see it?
I was like, is that legal? Don't matter. I'm still gonna take him down either way.
Yeah. Sometimes it's good though. It's almost like it's kind of the same thing as when you do jiu-jitsu in the gi. But it's you can't rip out of things. even though that's not going to happen in the fight, but like if you get used to someone holding your gloves and you can like technically break grips.
Let me break it down. I will not do that if the ref can see it. So only if my hand is hidden, then I will do that. And most fighters will do it like that. So it will happen in the fight.
Yeah. It has happened before. I mean, even you look at the Conor McGregor-Khabib fight. Conor grabbed, Khabib's cage, or he grabbed Khabib's shorts multiple times, trying to get up or trying to keep him from advancing position. So there's different ways to cheat, but again, it's a mentality for it.
Yeah. I wouldn't blame somebody. If we're in a fight, they held my gloves.
I wouldn't. I've had a fight, my LFA fight, at the very last, like there's like a 30 seconds, minute left, and there was a scramble, and he grabs my shorts, pulled me back, and almost he ended up on my back, but I kept scrambling and I ended up on top, thank God. But like I wasn't mad at him for a second, like even though I knew he pulled me, he got to that position because he pulled my shorts. I was like, I ain't mad at you at all, dog, in my head, because there's no time. I'm like, I just gotta adjust right now, like it's already happened. Like I would have probably done the same thing. It was out of desperation, like you're doing everything you can do to win. I switched to spandex after that. No more shirts.
What was it like going, coming up, having all these fights, watching all the... So I feel like, the generation of fighters before us, they were watching like the old UFC, and like, which is totally different, and then they kind of became what we think of now as the UFC, and as far as like what fighting looks like and how the techniques are, and it wasn't the same like spotlight. Guys that grew up watching like UFC 1, and then they were fighting in like UFC 70, UFC 100 and stuff. Those are two different things, And now like in our generation of fighters, like we're watching like the big show and like the big lights, and we kind of hold it on that pedestal, and then getting there, like, and then kind of being in those lights. Does that cross your mind, like when you're in the moment, or like what was that feeling like, kind of crossing that barrier?
Honestly, making it to UFC is awesome, insane. I'm a UFC fighter. I finally do UFC. It's pretty cool to say. But sorry, Bellator guys, but no. But it's the fact of there's no difference. Everyone thinks, the lights, the moment, this, that. It's like you fight for LFA, you fight for Titan, you fight for all these promotions, King of the Cage. There's gonna be a crowd there. There's gonna be lights. There's gonna be people. There's gonna be cameras. So be it. It's the same thing. It just happens to be a bigger arena.
What about the level of competition?
The level of competition, I say this for Titan FC, like the big regional cards, Titan FC, King of the Cage, LFA, stuff like that. All the main card guys are pretty much UFC caliber guys. It's just the fact of them getting noticed. So for me, being the double weight class champ and multiple time defending, I think I was 5-time main event for Titan FC out of my 7 fights there. So for me, being able to go into the UFC, and now I'm the very first fight, and I think the last one was a UFC Fight Pass prelim main event. I was like, sure, cool. I'm all the way back in the beginning. I got to work my way back up, but it's a mentality thing. I never really care who I'm fighting. I don't care about the crowd. I don't care about anything. I'm just confident in my ability. But again, some people they overthink I'm in the UFC. This guy must be good. I'm in the UFC. All the lights. What if I lose? I'm not getting a pay upgrade. What if I this, that? It's like it's gonna happen.
That's not.
What do the lights and the crowd really have to do with what's gonna go on inside the cage?
Again, people think...
It's what you make of it.
People think about it mentally. It's the fact of the funny thing is, my very first fight, World Star, was like really starting to become famous. And I never even put on a pair of MMA gloves before, and I was fighting a guy who was 5-0, I was 0-0, and he was a 35-pound champ.
Your very first fight?
I was supposed to be fighting at 125. My opponent didn't show up. I sold tickets. I was like, I don't care. I'll fight anyone. And I went in there, and the 135-pound champ, 5-0, all first-round TKOs, and was about to go pro, and
you'd never put on a pair of MMA gloves before?
Yeah, nothing. Because we only sparred with boxing gloves. I was like, sure, I think the only pair of MMA gloves were for pancration fights, but it's all, body shots and down.
Yeah.
So by the time I got in there, I was like, oh man, these gloves are small. Damn, this guy looks buff. Oh man, there's so many fans. My friends and family here, they're all filming it because they all got camera phones now,
though, right?
Huh?
You had kickboxed and wrestled before that.
I kickboxed and wrestled, but I've never done MMA.
Right.
So the big thing was I just won a Muay Thai championship. When I went in there, the first combination was jab, cross, leg kick. He picked me up, took me down, and I looked at the ref while getting taken down. I'm like, hey, he can't do... Oh, yeah. It's just one of those things that I wasn't used to transitioning it yet. I was used to just Muay Thai, just kickboxing, just wrestling. So when it finally all came together, the third round, I was really starting to really piece them apart. It was too late, and I lost by split decision.
That's your only amateur loss?
And
You're 20-1, right? As an amateur.
I was 25-1.
25-1.
Yeah,
that's a crazy amateur record.
So when you said that your last loss was 2010, was that fight?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
And given again, there was a lot of things that were against me. I was like, I'll take the fight anyways, which I'm happy because it's the fact of if you do the sport long enough, everything's going to happen to you. Unless you're Floyd Mayweather, again, still, I even think for him today, if he keeps on taking these fights at an older age, he's going to lose. Eventually, he's going to get caught, you know? So
he almost did by Shane Mosley.
Yeah. I mean, he got caught by plenty of guys, you know, but it's the fact of he was just able to recover. You know, good for him, but if he keeps on taking these last-minute fights, Khabib maybe next, or whoever next, like, he's going to lose inevitably. You know, it doesn't matter if the guy's a complete underdog. You never know. Somebody does this and just knocks him out. But it's the fact of if you walk long enough, eventually you're gonna slip. Eventually you're gonna trip. That's just how the life, you know, how world and the life works. So it's
Shorty breaking down statistics.
Yeah, you know. So it's crazy how mental this game is. So people going, oh, I'm never going to lose. I don't want to lose. It's not a video game. You can't play fight night. You lose. You just turn off the game and restart, and now your guy's still undefeated. It's like
I
do that all the time.
Yeah, no, I still do it now.
Save the game.
I still do it now, which I'm still waiting for a fight night sequel. But it's the thing of now your real life. You lose. Okay, what are you going to better yourself? What are you going to change? So hopefully that doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
Like, more inevitably it's going to happen again. Again, we have Alistair Overeem here. He used to be a champ in 2 different promotions. You know, we have freaking Curtis Blade, who was a national champ in wrestling, literally beat everyone, and then he comes into his first UFC fight and gets beat by Francis Ngannou. Like, it's a whole different thing, and seeing where these people have come up after losing is remarkable.
Well, if you look at anyone that I can think of, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but anyone that I can think of that has a really long undefeated record, like with a full career, look at like the first half of that record. They're usually, if you look at Khabib, I read something, so Khabib was, 26-0 before this fight. It was, so 10 of those people didn't have any wins, and then, so that made him like 16-0, and then of those 16, only like 6 or 7 had winning records.
Yeah.
So like 10 people had no wins.
That's so, like
6 or 7 of them had
blows my
less
mind up.
Well, I know, right?
I never knew that.
Well,
you look at like Mayweather's
yeah.
record, like the people he fought in the beginning. You know, so people like you're saying, eventually, like everyone loses. Things are going to happen. You know what I mean? When
Your
you look at
record
people who
doesn't
have never
define
lost.
you, really.
Well, it does and it doesn't. You know, so when you see these guys, like for example, when I fought Alex Perez 20-4, he had a much bigger record than me. But a lot of the guys that he fought were just random Joe Schmoes that were looking for a fight. Couldn't find one. They found him, and there you go.
Right.
But it's the fact of we talked about Teddy Atlas, you know, off air, talking about Mike Tyson. When Mike Tyson finally fought Evander Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, these guys were the best of the best. He lost.
Right.
You know, so I'm not saying, you know, Mike Tyson was awesome, and that's, you know, that's his thing. But you know, people compare Triple G to Canelo. It's like Canelo's fought the best of the best. Triple G, technically, he's always fought like the silver medalist guys. You know, right there, it's. You look at my record, and that's something I really try to instill because I'm a huge fan of Manny Pacquiao, 8th Division World Champ. Look at his record. It's phenomenal. The guys he beat because they're all world champions. For me, I had a pro debut guy for my first fight. The next fight, the guy had 16 pro fights. I'm 1-0. The next fight, the guy's 7-2, about to go to the UFC. I'm only 2-0. Knock him out. Then I fought the #1 contender, which I called out, even though I was a champion. He was 18-2 and a UFC veteran. I was only 3-0. Knock him out in 86 seconds. Then I bump up a weight. The guy's 17-7, beat UFC and Bellator veterans, but I ended up dominating him out of 5-round fight with a broken hand, torn MCL. The fight after that, the guy was 7-2 at a higher weight class. The guy after that was 7-2.
You definitely took the hard road.
I see this. If you're the champion, you're supposed to face the best. You're supposed to. I don't care about popularity. Like, yeah, obviously want to get the money fight, stuff like that, but you're supposed to face the best of the best. That's your legacy. You know?
How do you if you're 2-0, you're fighting a dude that's got 9 fights? Like, how in your head, how are you? What's your thought process like? How are you thinking that you have the experience to like hang with this guy?
Well,
it's incredible belief in yourself.
Well, for me, my second fight, the guy had 16 pro fights. I looked at it. He was a 3rd degree jiu-jitsu black belt. He was already older, kind of out of his prime, still like going into fight. And I go, wait, I've had 26 amateur fights in MMA alone, but I had 50 plus in Muay Thai and kickboxing. I had hundreds of college wrestling matches. You know,
so your amateur career fed your confidence.
Well, you think about it, it's like a job resume. You know, who's going to get the job? If there's 5 people, but one guy has a resume like this, but everyone else has it like this, it's like, yeah, more than likely this guy's going to get the job done, right? Given anything can happen. But it's the fact of I took my amateur career as a job resume. who's going to get the job? The guy with the biggest resume. So I literally said yes to pretty much not just every fight, but every single event. And I hustled to make every single tournament, travel the world, and do so many things. But that's why I was at least what the IMF calls me, the International Mixed Martial Arts Federation, one of the amateur, pioneers of the sport. Because you don't see that in MMA. You see that in boxing. Oh, we're going to the Olympics. We're doing the World Championships, doing this. MMA is slowly getting to that. And I have 26. Another guy who won Worlds last year, I think, had like 31 fights. I think he was like 30. I think it was like 28-2 or 28-3, and it's just like, yeah, that's part of the sport. That's how it works. So who cares if you lose? Look at, why do you think Lomachenko, even though now he's a three-weight world champion, they don't talk about his pro fights. The first thing they bring up is his amateur record.
Yeah.
Oh, he's 397-1. It's like, yeah, you have to talk about that because he has so much more experience over some other guy.
If I could give one piece of advice to like any amateur fighter, it would be to do all the competitions, like do everything you can do before you turn pro. Do amateur kickboxing, do jiu-jitsu competitions, like get experience competing, and then do all the amateur MMA fights.
It really comes down to...
Don't be in any rush, because people someone just told this to us the other day. They're like, oh yeah, I'm trying to turn pro and make some money. I'm like, oh yeah, you're trying to make $500? Yeah. That's going to be great for you. You know what I mean?
Like, is that for the Alistair, bro?
Yeah.
Dude, it's I mean,
he randomly met him on the street. The guy came up. You weren't there when they were talking about it. He came up, started talking to him, and he's like, "Yeah, I train." And he's like, "Oh, Alistair told him come to classes." Like he was just sending him to Easton's. This fool showed up to like pro practice, and he's a big guy. You know how it is with big guys. They kind of let him put him through the meat grinder, and that's how he was there.
He was talking to us, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm into a lot of ninjutsu and aerial techniques and."
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to see a backflip.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a couple people have said it to me. It was like, oh yeah, I'm trying to turn pro and make money. It's like, bro, you're still not gonna make money. You know what I mean?
Let's look at it this way. How many guys have you seen? Whether it's even yourselves, I don't know what your amateur records are, but how many guys have you seen go 5-0, 6-0, 7-0 and go pro?
Yeah.
But they've been pro in we're in the city of Denver. They've gone pro in Denver, but they've never fought someone in Iowa. They've never fought someone in Florida. They never fought the best. So you're a big fish in a little pond. Again, something I bring up in my YouTube series, Inside Team Shorty. But it's the fact of you don't know if you're the best. For me, I fought in Chicago, went 10 straight fights. All right, cool. I'm gonna go to Missouri. Then I went to Florida. Then I went to all these different places. Then I fought for a Pan American kickboxing gold medalist, in Brazil, and I'm facing pretty much the Americas, which was a freaking ridiculous tournament. Then eventually when I won nationals, you represent Team USA. You had to fight 5 times in 1 week.
Holy shit.
And you have to make weight every single day, which really sucks.
Holy shit.
This was I fought 5. Well, for me, I got to buy for the first 2 years, so I had to buy the first round. I had to fight 4 different countries in 4 days.
Is it MMA rules?
Yeah, it's MMA rules. So you're fighting the best of the best, their national champ, for the World Championship. So it is a huge, huge thing, and that's something that I tell people is get the experience. Yeah. How many times do you see guys go, I'm gonna go 5-0, I'm gonna go pro. Hey, how about you fight that really, really good guy from this state? He is looking for a fight. Why don't you fight him? No, I'm kind of nervous about that. Then why are you turning pro?
You want to go pro? Yeah.
What if you fight him going pro?
Should be able to meet any amateur.
Yeah. Why don't you just fight as an amateur? And if you lose, you lose.
Right.
Doesn't matter. You can be 30-0, 0-30 as an amateur and still turn pro.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's a learning experience.
Mm-hmm. If you look at anybody like all the great UFC champions, because there was definitely a time period where those amateur MMA was not really a thing.
Yeah. And
so I think a lot of people look at some UFC fighters now that didn't have an amateur background.
It's because it wasn't a thing.
It wasn't a thing, but they all did have a competitive background.
Yeah,
they had hundreds of wrestling matches, or hundreds of jiu-jitsu matches, or kickboxing matches.
And that's what I was gonna say. You gotta get used to channeling those nerves, channeling those butterflies in formation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, in any competition. So that's what you were saying.
Yeah.
As many competitions as possible. So once you get used to that, like you before your first, you were confident enough to take your first MMA fight against a guy with 5-0 all knockouts because you had 30 kickboxing Muay Thai fights behind you, right? And your wrestling background, you had that competition behind you, so that prepared you, that fed you the confidence to go into that. And same thing as when you turn pro, you were fighting those guys with so much more fights than you because you had the amateur background behind you.
It's a huge thing. I mean, wrestling, all these, they get you under the lights, you know. I was All-American as well, so sometimes you're under just the spotlight. You know, same thing with kickboxing, and just, you know, the level of competition you're going for. When you do an MMA, it's the same thing, it's just different rules. You're still going in there against one guy, you're still going in there to see who's the best. That's it.
Well, I feel like we got tons more to say, but we're running out of time here. Where we at?
We're at 35 minutes.
Total,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Still got some time.
A little bit of time.
Yeah.
Well, you got anything you want to say to everybody before we wrap up? We got about 5 minutes.
You know, so if people want to follow me, my name is Jose Shorty Torres. Instagram, Jose Shorty Torres. Twitter, Shorty Torres 125. Facebook, Jose Shorty Torres with quotations around the word Shorty. And if anybody wants to support me and my team back at home in Chicago, TeamShorty.com. 20% out of all the proceeds go to the kids in my gym so they can travel, train, get off the streets, and just get opportunity in life. And again, if you want to follow my YouTube series, Inside Team Shorty, where I give the reality, the truth, and everything behind the scenes of the sport of MMA, and it's, again, I try to dig deep from my own perspective and other fighters' perspectives as well. And I just appreciate the time, guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Before we do the closing, do you have for all the young fighters and stuff out there listening, you can give them one piece of advice? Don't
rush. You know, the biggest thing is, and I'm pretty sure you guys can probably say the same thing. I know I say the same thing now, and I went pro at 23, is you don't turn, you know, you don't go into your prime until you're 28, 32, around that, you know, window. So why are you going pro at 18? You know, it's like, okay, you could be a Mike Tyson. Hey, that's awesome, but Mike Tyson was a gold medalist in the Olympics. That makes sense.
Hundreds of fights.
But if you're 5-0 in Denver, 5-0 in Chicago, what the heck's that matter?
Nice.
You know, get a resume, build yourself up, stay calm, stay patient. Yeah, you're fighting for free. You're fighting for the fun of it, fighting for the love of the sport. Because once you go pro, that's when things start to get difficult, and it's, I wouldn't say it becomes less fun, but you start to really venture off and you're like, oh man, I need to make money, I need to get sponsors, I need to do this, I need to pay bills. So again, enjoy yourself as a young athlete coming up, and just like we always say, enjoy yourself as a child, you know, because once you turn an adult, it really sucks. But have your fun and do your thing, and just be patient. If you lose, keep your head up and keep on doing your thing. You're bound to lose anyways. Not saying go looking for that, but just do your thing, keep on learning, and have fun while doing it.
Nice, cool.
Well said.
Definitely. If you guys like the podcast, you want to subscribe, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, and Spreaker. You can also subscribe to our channel on YouTube. We've got the podcast coming out every week, and then we've got 2 to 3 technique videos coming out every week on the YouTube channel as well. You can follow the podcast on social media at Quotes and Chokes. That's on Instagram and Facebook. If you want to follow me, you can follow me at Nick Angeloni155 on Instagram, and Nick the Italian Stallion Angeloni on Facebook. And then
you can follow me at prime_time9999.
Nice, cool, and that's on Instagram, right?
Yeah, Instagram.
All right, thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you next week.
Go.